Hi, and welcome to the second process video for the Take 10 texture class. Today I'm going to be showing you a layout that incorporates lots and lots of layers of texture. So let's get started. I'm actually starting a couple of days ago when I used this cut file to create texture on another layout using molding paste. And I had lots of leftovers on the stencil, which was actually just a paper cut file that I had cut with my Silhouette. There was lots of green tinted texture paste on there. So I just stamped it onto this extra piece of white cardstock, and then I set it aside and it dried. And here it is. And you saw that I had some extra molding paste on my palette knife, so I just spread it in these two extra sections, and I thought I would design today's layout around that. So I have this other cut file, so this is a good example of using cut files in lots of different ways. This was a leftover cut file that I had cut some of the pieces off of to use in some layers for a layout quite a long time ago. This would have been more than a year ago. And I just kept the extras, and it's already misted into like with a grayish beige type of color over it to make it not quite so white. And you see that I have my texture tray here. This is where I keep all of my extra little pieces of texture, and I did show this in a video for the class, so hopefully you've seen that already. And I'm just pulling some of the things out of that tray to use in today's layout. So I have that beaded paper, and I have, I'm also grabbing some gold thread from Stampin' Up, and I have some cheesecloth that's not going to make it onto the layout, and I have some Maggie Holmes rub-ons that I'm going to use on my background. And rub-ons, even though they're smooth, they do add texture because they have a nice smooth look on them, and when you put them over something bumpy, they change the texture and they add just one more dimension. So I have this photo, which is a 2x2 grid that I took. It's a diptych that I took with my iPhone, and I'm just going to pile up some layers of this crepe paper. And this is like crepe ribbon that you get for a party for decorating or whatever, but it's just a plain white sheet of it. And you'll notice that it's quite yellowed. It is probably not acid free or or light fast or anything like that, because it's clearly yellowed even just right here in my scrap room where it hasn't seen any sunlight at all. So keep that in mind when you're using these kinds of products. Over time, the crepe paper will probably yellow, and I'm okay with that. So if you're not, then make sure that you don't use crepe paper for this kind of a project. So I am just cutting the layers. So I stapled it together, and then I glued it to the photo, and then I just used my scissors to trim the layers down so that you could see some of the different layers. And now I'm just taking my fingers, and I'm just fluffing up the edges, especially the top and the bottom, because they fluff up quite nicely because it's the cross. I was cutting against the grain of the paper. So then I just took these triangle pieces of burlap that are from crepe paper. They are actually for making a banner, but I just bought them. They were on sale, and I bought them only for texture, for adding texture to things. So I'm not going to use them as a banner. I've got lots of pieces of them, and I like the stripes on them. So you'll see that I stuck that in there, and while I was at it, I grabbed that piece of embossed paper. It's embossed, it's just plain white cardstock that quite some time ago when I was making some cards, I ran it through with an embossing folder that was inked. And so that provided that made the ink go into the little hollow parts of the paper when it embossed. And now this is a piece of vellum that I punched with my notebook paper punch, and then I crinkled it up to get even more texture, and now I'm going to be gluing it onto the back of all of these layers. So this layout is an example, quite an extreme example actually, of lots and lots of texture all used together. And when I use this much texture together, I like to be pretty careful that I'm not adding too much else. So most of the interest in this layout is going to be texture and not anything else. So I'm not going to have lots and lots of colors. It's only going to be monochromatic, just white and green. And I'm not going to have a whole lot of embellishments. There will be some, but there's not going to be a whole lot. And that way the texture gets to be the star of this of this layout. So I did take some POW glitter paper in that beautiful shade of green, and I used my scallop punch from Stampin' Up! To make a little rectangle that will run the whole length of the layout, not of the layout, but of the little layers there. And then I grabbed that cut file and that was already cut out, and I put that in the layers as well. And now these rub-ons will give me a nice smooth shiny bit of texture in the background of this page. And it'll be a nice contrast to the bumpy, foamy texture paste. And that's light modeling paste from Golden. And it has a really soft, fluffy texture like icing when you put it on. And when it dries to almost like a foamy, it almost feels a little bit like fun foam, but it has more texture than fun foam on your project. I love that stuff. It's awesome. And I just colored it with some mist. So there you saw me put the POW glitter paper onto that chevron-y type of die cut piece. I cut down my layers a little bit so that you could see more of the die cut piece sticking out. And then I attached the whole thing to my big chunk of layers. And I grabbed some more rub-ons, the You and Me and the Always up at the top. And I'm going to put those rub-ons in the two places where I added extra texture paste with my palette knife. And so I'm just kind of following the design that was randomly on the background paper already in order to design this. And I'm having a look. What I'm looking for is some interesting stickers, but I don't want them to be too over the top. So I really like this one because it says love this moment and it has gold accents on it, and I definitely want to add gold. And it's from Maggie Holmes, which the rub-ons are also from Maggie Holmes, so it kind of coordinates. I find her stuff all works together. And then it also has the black and white leaves on it that picks up on the black and white pattern that's behind my layers. And what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for some more stickers, especially stickers that have a little bit of texture to them. But first I'm looking for, I'll come back to looking for texture in a second. First I'm going to add some of these smooth stickers that have the color scheme that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for only green or neutrals. And here I have picked this flower and feather that are from the same sticker set. And that sticker set is probably from Glitz Designs. One of the challenges of doing a stash layout is that I don't always remember who made the stuff in my stash. But I'm pretty sure it's Glitz Designs who made that set of stickers. Then you only see one of them, but I actually cut two tiny little strips from that striped burlap. One is up by Always and the other one is down by You and Me. And I'm just putting them there for now. They're not going to end up like that, but I just want to remember to not forget to use them. And now I'm thinking about adding a doily. And what a doily will do, whoa, that's too big. What a doily will do is it will provide a little bit of separation between my background, which has that kind of green pattern on it, almost like a mosaic or a reverse mosaic or a reverse brick pattern. And it provides some separation between that background and my layers that are in front of the doily. And it gives your eye a bit of a rest so that green mosaic pattern on the background that is in the texture paste doesn't come right up to my layers. There's a little bit of breathing space where the doily separates the two items. So now I'm going to go ahead and rub on this, I guess, band of flowery things that is going to run the whole length behind my layers. And I tried to make it as even as I could, just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be terribly even because this is a fairly casual layout with lots of layers, and it's got a casual look. So now I'm rubbing on You and Me over the texture paste. And I wasn't entirely sure if it would work, but it did, so I was happy about that. Sorry that this is out of frame. I'm actually cutting that burlap so that it is interrupted by the word me, and I really like how that looks. And I'm going to do the same up here. First, I'm going to cut the little bit of rub-on off, and then I'm going to rub always right onto the texture paste. And because the texture paste is kind of foamy and the rub-on is really shiny, that provides a nice contrast of different textures. And now I'm just rubbing Love This. So it says Love This Always. And then I'm going to interrupt the burlap just like I did below with the descender of the Y. And I find when I interrupt either lines when I'm outlining or in this sort of a fashion, it really makes the two things look like they belong together in a way that overlapping them just wouldn't have done. So now I'm going to attach all of those layers that I've created to my background. I like how that looks. I love that color of green. It's just so pretty. And so now I'm just taking this Stampin' Up! Gold thread and I'm making a little circle of it by wrapping lots and lots and lots of it around my fingers, pulling it off, and then I'm actually using a little tiny attacher staple to hold them together in a little bit of a loop. And then I'm sticking it down under my photo, as you can see, so that it just kind of messily sticks out. And now the tip of my glue is sticking to the thread, and it's just not working right. So what I'm going to do is take a little toothpick, put the glue on the toothpick, and then stick it down like that. It works a little bit better. And now I'm going to put my little feather back in place. Oops, I stuck it upside down, but that's okay. If that feather has a little asterisk-y type of thing on both sides of it, so it doesn't really matter. And now I'm doing the same thing. I'm repeating the gold loop of messy string, basically. And I stapled it with my tiny attacher, stapled it twice. It wasn't as messy as the other one, so I was trying to make it messy and I just couldn't do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it under there, and then I'm going to spread it out a little bit and stick it to the sticky underside of that flower sticker, and that will make it look a little bit more messy, so it looks more like it goes with the other one that's down by the feather. Thread is a really nice way to add dimension to your layout, and you don't have to always sew with a sewing machine in order to get that nice texture on your layout. You can do lots of different things with thread, like use it for tying around things or make a little bundle like I did. Now this foil, this gold foil summer, is really appropriate because the photo is taken in the summer, but I love the texture that it adds. I love that it adds this nice shiny smooth element to my layers. Those stickers are really shiny and smooth too. Both the Glitz Design stickers and the Maggie Holmes stickers are pretty shiny. So I like to vary my textures, so I've got some shiny things and some bumpy things and some matte things in there. And now these black foam letter stickers are going to add yet another kind of texture to this layout. And I want to call this, I'm trying to think of a plain title. I want to use small words, and I thought I might call it Us, and then I thought I might call it Just Us. And so I'm just going to put the word Us on a piece of waxed paper. And those are from Amy Tangerine from a thicker package called Today. And so, and then another Amy Tangerine word sticker set came with the word just. So I thought I would call it Just Us. And when I look at the whole layout from a distance, the title is just not balanced the way that I want it to be. So I thought instead of putting just in foam letter stickers, as much as I love that, I thought I would vary the font. And it just works better with the tile letter stickers. Those tile letter stickers are from a Crate Paper collection. It might be from the Poolside collection. It's from a summer themed Crate Paper collection anyways. I was going to add that little loop-de-loop shape, but I really think that Us has a lot of impact because it's all by itself. And then I thought about adding this heart from the Calberteschi Amy Tangerine thickers, but no, I really like Us just on its own. I love how the S has that kind of the little strip that hangs off the end of the S. I'll spit it out here at some point. Sorry about that. I really like how that goes, and I just don't want to mess with it. I don't want to take away from the boldness that Us has because it's the only black foam element on the whole page. Oftentimes I like to continue or repeat an element, but I love how Us grabs your attention because it's the only black foam thing, and it's the most bold item on my layout. And it really works because it's a very similar scripty font to what's already on the layout in Always and You and Me. So now these are DIY shop cork stars, and I love the energy that these stars add to a layout. I really love them. I love pointy stars as opposed to like a fat, chunkier star. I like them to be pointy. And now these freckled fawn puffy heart gold stickers are just one of my very favorite things. And they're so puffy. They're just like much thicker than most puffy stickers. And I love that they're shiny and golden and delicious. I just love them. So I have all of my puffy stickers out, and I'm just having a look at what other things I might want to add. But as I mentioned, I'm trying to keep this layout as simple as possible in terms of everything except for the texture. So I want the texture to be the most complex thing on the page. And so adding a whole bunch of different puffy stickers that don't match with one another would make it much more busy. So everything that I've added on the layout is very intentional and very repeated. So if I added a star, I added the stars in all the different places. And then I added the gold puffy hearts and I added them in all of the places. And then I repeated that bold glitz design sticker in the feather and in the floral. And there are only a few things that are one of a kind on this layout. I tried to repeat everything because it allows the texture to be the thing of interest on this one. So again, sticking with the idea of texture, I'm using my Liquitex acrylic ink to do my gold splatters, and these will make a much more splattery splatter than Heidi Swapp Color Shine. And one of them is a little bit messier than what I would have liked it to have been. It splatters a little bit more like paint, so it's a much thicker splat. And the dots are like they come up off the page, not a whole lot, but a little bit more like paint does. I guess it's kind of like a cross between if you splattered paint and if you splattered mist. It's just a little bit thicker than a mist, and I really like the look, despite the fact that there's a splatter on there that's really out of place, like it's kind of two in the middle of two different clusters instead of being close to a cluster. But anyhow, I'm going to add some more splatter down here because I realized that I had splatter where most of the stars were, but this little cluster of stars right here didn't have any splatter around it. So I had to add a little bit of splattery golden goodness right around those stars. And this layout looks really messy and relaxed and casual, and I really like it for that reason. So now I'm entertaining the idea of maybe covering up that splatter that I don't like, the stray one and so I took an October afternoon label sticker and I added the date to it, and I'm going to stick it out right here, and I'm not going to like it at all. It really does throw off the balance of this page. And I thought maybe if I, put some other stuff around it, it won't throw off the balance anymore. And then I thought, no. Remember, I was not adding extra stuff. So the only thing that I would be allowed to add there would be stars or hearts or golden puffy hearts. And so that wasn't going to work. And I ran out of stars. But I remembered in my texture tray, I had a little sheet of adhesive backed cork. And I have one star punch. It's this Martha Stewart border star punch. I wish I had some more star punches. That is something that I would like to get. So I punched myself some extra cork stars because the only thing I'm allowed to add is cork stars and puffy hearts. And I thought that adding a puffy heart up by that green label would just be too much. It would really throw the layout off. So I'm going to put some tiny little cork stars around here to try to make that label look like it belongs there, but it's still throwing the whole thing off. While I'm at it, I'm adding a couple of smaller stars in some of the other places that I didn't add stars before just because I ran out. So I put a few more stars, and now I'm looking at it and I'm realizing that, you know what, I think I'd rather have just a stray splatter there than have that label there. So I'm moving the label over to here, and I still don't like it there. And I'll add another star right here so that the other two don't look lonely, I guess. And I'm just holding it up to look at it, and I don't like it there on the side, so I thought maybe I'll put it over here. And it does look better there than it did on the side. Again, I don't want to take away from the main elements on, like the main embellishments that I really want to stand out are the flower and the feather that go together, and then the sticker that says "Love this moment." Everything else should just kind of like blend in and be mostly covered up. So I don't want this label sticker, if it makes it onto the layout, I don't want it to be very prominent. So I know I'm going a little fast for showing this, but I'm going to show it again. Here you get to see some of the texture. I think I'm done, but I'm really not. But look at that beautiful texture. I love how all those different materials look together, and where it's just really white and a tiny bit of black and green, and then the beige accents. It just looks really, it doesn't overwhelm you as much as it would if it was all different things. So I felt like the layout was a little bit too floaty, and so I'm going to mat it on some green cardstock. I had to just pull out all of my greens so that I could have a choice, and I'm going to go with this one, which is more of a grassy yellowy green than the other green that I had. I'm going to, because this layout is already made and I like the balance of the top and the bottom and the left and the right, I'm just going to take 1/4 of an inch off of every single side. Sometimes I take a 1/2 inch off of 2 sides, off of 2 adjacent sides. Instead of making 4 cuts, you can make 2 cuts, but that would throw off the balance of this layout, and since I like where it is on the page, I just decided to make the 4 cuts instead. And then I just placed it over there. You could sew all the way around it, but I just didn't want to add anything. I didn't want to add that much texture to the outside. I like how all the texture is mostly focused around the inside and then just kind of splattered out a little bit from the center. So that's how it looks, and that's the final product. So thanks so much for watching this highly texturized layout, and I hope that you picked up a couple of tips about how to use all different kinds of texture together. This video focused on making sure that when you use this much texture, that you make everything else take a back seat to the texture so that you're not using a ton of different colors and a ton of different motifs. Try to keep your stickers and your shapes and stuff and all of the different colors that you use to a minimum, just to allow all of the texture to really shine and so that your viewer won't be too overwhelmed. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back in the classroom.